All those times you want to take your off-road bike on the road, here you go. This is that bike. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So in this video, we're going to do a first impression ride on the 2024 CRF 450 RL. So stick around, let's jump into that. Let's see what it's like. Also, check out Moto. This is the Moto adventure jacket. It's got armor and stuff. Really cool jacket. Anyways, that's affiliate links are in the description. But now let's jump on the bike and see how she goes. All right guys, welcome back to the channel. So we're going to do a first impression ride here on our Honda. This is a 2024 CRF 450 RL. And what I can tell you, just first impressions, this is definitely an MX bike. You can tell it's race inspired. Suspension, clutch, everything. It's definitely a lot taller than a normal dual sport. Well, I shouldn't say that. If you're comparing this to, say, like a CRF 300L, it's quite a bit taller. I'm 6'2", and you know, I can almost flat foot. Kind of the balls of my feet are up a little bit. I will also apologize for the wind noise. I've been experimenting with different mics to improve my moto vlogging, so just have to bear with us through this process. But let's talk about the bike. So overall, the bike it's very flickable, and you know, it's less than 300 pounds. I think it's like 290 pounds, and to me it feels heavier than that. I don't know if it's just because it's so tall, the long travel suspension, or the center of gravity, but even though on paper it's lighter than my CRF 300, it feels a little bit heavier. You can't tell it when you pick up the bike or move the bike. You can feel it's a little bit less weight, but when you're riding it, it feels a little heavier. And I'm sure it's just to, you know, the overall height of the bike. Now, one thing, when I was doing research on this bike, people were talking about, oh, the throttle's so jerky, it's unrideable. And honestly, I'm not feeling that. It is jerky, don't get me wrong. But to me, I've rode enough bikes, it doesn't really bother me. And the wind is blowing terribly, so I know this might be a little tricky to hear. Suspension wise, you know, the bike is a little bit firmer. The suspension has full adjustability, which I really like that. Yeah, it feels good. Let's just give it a little bit of throttle. So you can definitely feel the power. It is not all of a sudden. It picks up, and it picks up very rapidly. The bottom end torque it's pretty phenomenal. You know, I hate to just keep comparing this to my CRF 300L, but these bikes couldn't be any more different. I'm tractoring the bike, no problem. You know, I would say the throttle is more on-off than it is linear, and I think maybe that's why people, you know, upgrade the ECU to kind of smooth out that throttle so it's more linear. And you know, I think this bike, and again, this is my first really ride on the bike, and everything I read and the amount of bikes that you see available used, I think there's a, out of the way squirrel, I think there's a misconception about the bike. You know, when these come out in, we're gonna hit a squirrel today. When these come out in 2018, 2019, they were designated with the L, so it was a CRF 450L, and at the same time the 250L was out. And the 250L gets high praise for being a great beginner bike, a good dual sport bike for people. And I think guys getting into riding and dual sport riding, seeing the 250, they saw the 450L, and their thought was, well, the bikes look very similar. There's more things on the 450L that I'll probably end up doing the 250L anyways. You know, will I outgrow the 250L pretty quick? So they thought to themselves, well, I'm just going to go ahead and pick up a 450. And they probably didn't research it as much as they did the 250L, and they ended up with a bike that this bike doesn't instill confidence. This bike will make you feel more confident in your riding skill, and that's a big difference. I don't think this is a good bike for beginners at all, really. I mean, you can pull it off, but you better be very cautious about your throttle hand. Bikes like this is what term the phrase whiskey throttle. So if you're not sure what that is, why don't you Google that? You'll see plenty of videos, guys putting their bike up in the back of their truck and they end up running the bike over top of the cab or through the back window. That's whiskey throttle. And this bike, if you don't know what you're doing and you don't have excellent throttle control and clutch control, you could have that experience, unfortunately. And like I said, I think probably, you know, what got guys on the 250 versus the 450, or when they picked up their first bike, they picked this one up and they had a bad experience. That's why you see so many on the used market. But here we are, I'm at a stop sign here, and like I said, my heels are just off the ground. I'm 6'2"-ish. I've got about a 33 inseam, and you know, the bike, even if I squish down the suspension, I can somewhat flat foot it. So the clutch engagements, it's pretty smooth. It's a little bit more abrupt than I'm used to, but I don't think it's a problem. I don't necessarily think the twitchy throttle's that big of a deal either. But again, I mean, if you're uncomfortable riding at the beginning, you're going to be pretty white-knuckled on these bars. And, you know, I could see the twitchiness coming into play and maybe making you nervous. Overall rideability, you know, this bike has a little bit of vibration. I can more so feel it in my butt on the seat, and I believe that's probably because, you know, this is an MX style seat, and it's not really made for you to be sitting down on too much. So it's a little firm, it's very thin. So for me, I'm thinking, you know, my goal with this bike is a light ADV bike, so probably an upgraded seat, something a little more plush. I'd rather do that than start adjusting the suspension to soften it up. I like the, you know, riding on the road, let's face it, you're going to be sitting down a lot, and, you know, I don't think more than, you know, 30 minutes to an hour on this seat, I'm going to start feeling it a little bit. So that's probably something I'll look at in the future. I'm not running the bike hard at all. A lot of people complained about, you know, some like surginess of the bike. I can't say that I'm feeling that initially. Maybe with some more seat time on the bike, I can comment on that a little bit. But yeah, this wind is terrible. But the low end power of the bike is phenomenal. It's very impressive. We'll get down here a little bit, and yeah, so the wind's blowing. I think we're getting gusts up to 35 miles an hour. You can see on that tarp right there, the wind's blowing pretty good. The bike feels pretty stable. I don't feel like I'm getting blown around. You know, a lot of times on these lighter bikes, you can feel it. you know, getting blown around quite a bit. It's not terrible. And again, we're not doing 55 miles an hour. We're just on a backcountry road here, and it feels pretty good. So we'll go up here and get it up to speed a little bit, maybe test a little bit more acceleration. Trying to abide by the book on the break-in period, so I'm not gonna wring its neck too hard. But yeah, okay, so the throttle is, I'm not gonna say it's jerky, I'm gonna say it's super responsive. That's kind of my take on it. So we got it in second gear. Yeah. So I think the other thing is, for emissions, when you let off the throttle, it kind of defuels it. So I think that's what people are feeling, is that sudden engine braking and then the abrupt throttle coming back. It does feel jerky. So I think that's probably what people are attributing into that twitchiness of the bike. Now on my KLR, it's similar to this. It's not, well, honestly, I think the KLR is probably more abrupt on the engine braking than this is. But anyways, let's just kind of jam on the brakes here. Yeah, the brakes are plenty good for this bike. I thought the CRF was a little spongy on the brakes. This grabs pretty good. Yeah, she's got plenty of power. It's addicting. All I could say is, wow, that's awesome. That is awesome. The 6-speed gearbox, I do like that. I'm in 5th gear now, just rolling in a 40. There's 6th gear at 39 miles an hour. She's chugging along. And let's just see here. Let's slow her down. We're in 6th gear, 30 miles an hour. Yeah, I didn't full throttle it, but it just plowed right through it. Here's some bumps. Let's stand up and see how she feels. Very good standing position. A lot of guys like that full-on straight up and down, and you know, I'm 6'2", so if I'm just gonna stand straight up, I would raise the bars, but I don't just stand straight up. I kind of like, you know, up off the bars with my weight forward and kind of an attack position, and to me the bars feel great. Yeah, I like it. Yeah, in 6th gear, just kind of cruising. She just gets up and goes. This bike feels a lot like a more higher performance sport bike. If you're comparing it to a street bike, with the acceleration, you feel that, you know, what a lot of us love about motorcycles is, you know, just the adrenaline, the acceleration. This bike's going to deliver that. Yeah, so we got a pretty hefty wind coming from my right side. The bike feels very stable. These tires feel pretty good on the asphalt. It feels good. It feels really good. My first impression is, if I could sum it up in one word, that would be wow. It's a great bike. I love it already. And I'm not one to hang on to bikes or get emotionally attached or anything like that, but I can see this bike sticking around for a while. You know, when I was looking at a more of a race inspired dual sport, I looked at the Beta 430, I believe it was the RRS. I also looked at the Beta 390, the 500. Those are essentially the same bikes with just different displacement. And I also looked at the, I believe it was the Husqvarna, I want to say a 301, something like that, possibly. And, excuse me, I think all those bikes are in similar categories. I think those two, the Husqvarna and the Beta, they feel a little bit more racy, probably more so than this, but I think Honda did a pretty good job bringing this bike to the market, making it street legal. Yeah, you remember when you were a kid and you're riding your little RM80 two-stroker, and all you wanted to do was take it out on the road, go to your buddy's house. You know, that's kind of what this bike feels like to me. All those times you want to take your off-road bike on the road, here you go. This is that bike. So guys, if you like these videos, hit that subscribe button, hit the little bell for notifications. Check out our affiliate links. We're wearing the Hawk Off-Road Adventure Jacket. Enter promo code SquatchRL, save you a few bucks, helps out the channel. We've got other affiliate links too. Check those out in our gear list. But until next time, guys, God bless.